So now we're going to do a DBA checks for the accidental DBA. DBA checks is a module that was created by the SQL Collaborative. It was really awesome. We busted it out in like 2 months. And talk to you soon, Chewy. Thanks for joining us. And it's really awesome. And whenever I was using it, and it had been a while since I had loaded up the the Power BI thing that it came with, and I just loved that visualization, and I wanted to share it with other people too. So whenever you're a DBA, you'll be like DBA checklist, right? SQL Server. What do I have to do every day? So you have all of these different places, right? SQL Server Central says something. The one that I love is this one. This is Brad McGee. It was created back in 2010, but what I liked about it was that, I'm going to take Dark Reader off for this one. What I liked about it was that it's really straightforward and thorough. So he has this like day-to-day, how nice, installation, right, security, etc. But this is one of many. You also have your morning checklist where this person's like, hey, check your backups, check your disk space. Hey, Brett, welcome. We are going over DBA checks, for the accidental DBA. So you look at your job failures, right? Then you have, let's see, system checks, which are check your logs. Performance, you want to do some connectivity checks. Replication. Replication isn't so popular these days, to my knowledge. I know a couple people do it. I used to have and I still do. If an organization uses replication, it seems to require a lot of babysitting. And one of the reasons that I like being a SQL Server DBA is that there isn't a severe amount of babysitting. And if there is, then you can take that and you can use PowerShell to do a lot of that babysitting for you. Replication seems to be some beast of its own. And so, I don't know much about it. And you probably, if you're an accidental DBA, no accidental DBA that I'm aware of is going to be doing replication, because it's even a little challenging or at least time consuming for experienced people. Oh, and then you have to reset the replication password. That sounds terrible. Yeah, I remember I looked into it, and there's so many complications with it, and it appears brittle, but maybe that's because if an inexperienced person set it up, then it'll be brittle then. So no replication for me, no replication likely for the accidental DBA. But I do like this because what we can do, other than like performance, maybe that's something that we could look into, but now we're going to use DBA checks to perform these exact checks. So let's go ahead and get started. I have here Windows 2017, and I'm kind of bummed because I don't like it doing this and I have OCD. So let me go and fix this. Probably do font 16 instead, and then reopen it. What the? Why are you doing that? Okay, I'm gonna go back to 18. Maximize. I don't have anywhere to start because this is just a clean machine. What I'm kind of bummed about is that this doesn't have Power BI, but we could just go and get it. So, all right, the first thing that we're going to want to do is see if it has the get mock stuff, then it probably has Pester installed, and it probably has DBA checks installed. It doesn't. IPMO. This is import module. You usually don't have to do this. You can just type a command from, let me do that. Invoke DBC. Hitting tab, it is not auto-completing. Therefore, I likely don't have DBA checks installed on here. However, I probably have get DBA database. Yeah, so on this machine, I currently have DBA tools installed, and I had forgot actually, by default, Windows 10 does come with Pester. So what I want to do is go to this dbachecks.io/intro, which is a redirection. So it tells you things, how to use it. Oh, this is the little thing that it outputs. This is what it actually looks like. So cool. I love how this is interactive. What? And then you can make it big, and you can actually see the diff should be less than 26 hours and things like that. So after everything's said and done, you can have it email you, or you can have it output to this beautiful dashboard. So that's dbachecks. The install, here we go. There is a guide for installing dbachecks. It actually might, that's something that's kind of hard, is that you have to go back and update so many posts. So the first thing we're going to do is install module dbachecks. I'm not running as admin. Let me go ahead and do that. If you run as admin, it can put it in your program files, which will allow all users, including SQL Server agent, to access the module. So when you install a module, it will go to PowerShellGallery.com by default, and it'll do that. And out the gate, Microsoft does not trust its own repository. So if you want to not get this prompt, you can say set PS repository, name PS Gallery, and then installation mode trusted, something like that. But I'm just gonna say yes. All right, so now it has been installed, and I'm gonna close out everything. Let's see, invoke DBC check. All right, clear. Get DBC check out grid view. So, oh, good. I'm glad that helped. If you want to install anything only for yourself, by the way, you can set the scope to module, you can, let's see, install module, dbachecks, scope, current user. That way it only installs it for you, and it puts it into your documents instead of program files, Windows PowerShell. This is if you use administrator prompt and you don't set your scope. So you can see here we have dbachecks, dba tools, PS framework, PS everything, which is a PowerShell module that interacts with void tools as everything. So we have all of these. I tried some operational validation, so I used this to test that out. So Adilio said set PS repository name PS Gallery, installation policy trusted. Let's go ahead and do that now. Thank you so much, by the way. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to run as administrator. Let's go ahead and trust the repository. That took longer than expected. All right, so now let's install module PS database clone. You'll notice I should have done a verbose. This time around, it's not prompting me. That's interesting. So I guess it just updated my PS framework to be compatible with his, because it was already installed before. All right. Now what we're going to do is import module dbachecks. I don't have to. I can just run that command. But let's just see what happens when I import it. Sometimes I have pester issues. that stem from Pester being included with the operating system, is my understanding. All right, so I've imported dbachecks, and now I want to get dbc. So our PowerShell prefix, whenever you create your own commands, you should always consider a PowerShell prefix. That way there's no name collisions. Like VMware actually has get-vm, I believe, but then so does Hyper-V. And so I think. And so that could be an issue. If VMware would have been like VMW, VM, something to that effect, a virtual machine, then that would have probably been a better idea. But, they started a very long time ago, and I don't think that it was necessarily, I think I'd have made the same decision. Initially, DBA tools used SQL because I didn't want to, I'm just trying to get the word out, and I didn't want to have to clarify, DBA is just our prefix. But Microsoft wasn't working on the SQL Server module, and they had the SQL prefix. So I'm like, if they're not making any movement, and start SQL migration is more straightforward than start DBA migration. So I just went with that, and later on we did change it all over to DBA. Now with dbachecks, we use DBC. And for our Azure module, we'll be using DBZ. It's true. Adilio pointed out that you could get around it by using fully qualified command names. So what you could do is do like dbachecks/get dbcheck. I think that's like such a kind of, it's possible, but I don't think it's a very popular approach, and that would be kind of hard to explain to people. So just by default out the gate, to use your own specific prefix is a really good idea. So let's clear. Too much type in me lazy, me too. But I do like that it kind of looks like a folder, kind of a folder structure. All right, so now that we have it installed, let's go back to the installation guide. In the event that you want to run dbachecks offline, so let's say you have an air gap server or whatever, what you can do is you could save the modules. Let me go back here. So I said save module. I accidentally pasted too much. Name dbachecks, path temp. Let's go look at temp. Okay. So I think I'll just delete everything here. Skip. Do this for all current, whatever. Right. I love this. All right, so once I save the module dbachecks and put everything, you know what I'm gonna do? Migdir ctemp checks. All right, so now that I've created that, what I'm gonna do is again paste and then temp checks. I don't even have to delete the other stuff. Now it's gonna go to the gallery and it will download dbachecks and all of the dependent modules. So dbachecks requires that you have DBA tools installed. It requires Pester. It requires PS framework. So you can see here, import module does have a prefix parameter too, and you can do that at runtime, which is very useful, I think, like if you have to. But I think that PowerShell can be a bit intimidating, so I never want to do something like that unless I have to. So whenever we go into dbachecks, you can see I saved all of this, right? So I saved modules and it went and I got everything that I needed. It got dbachecks, it got DBA tools, Pester, and the PS framework. So if you can just zip this and put it, however it is that you move binaries to your air gap server, then you can do that. So this just kind of goes over the functionality. Basically what we do is we use Pester and DBA tools and to validate your environment. So we will check the we'll check your backups and things like that. And then this tells you that you can schedule the stuff. And then we have a little troubleshooting guide. But what I want to do is go to our repository, dbachecks.io, which is going to just redirect. So here's the repo, which has a little guide. So here's your prereqs. They tell you, like, you know, if you're still getting these errors, you need to do this. Maybe I'll have to. We'll see. This could actually check your SQL 2000 machines, and that's made possible by Microsoft creating the SMO library or the SQL management objects. They support all the way back to 2000, so we can easily support all the way back to 2000. Not for every single feature, but for a lot of them. So this just sort of goes over the word usage. So in this module, a check is synonymous with a tag and pester. So you can invoke dbcheck and specify a check that you want to run, and you can get the list of available checks with dbcheck. So let's go ahead and do that. And then what I'm going to do is use outgrid view. And then I'm going to use a pass-through because I think that you guys might find this interesting if you're not familiar with it. So these are all of our checks. I think there's, I don't know, like maybe over 100. And the checks, so we have our groups, right? So we have SQL Server Agent, which is SQL Server's scheduling engine. We have the database group. So that's just the databases, right? And then we have the domain. So if you want to do a little bit of AD checking, very minimal. HADR, so that's the clustering. And then the instance level, so that's at the server itself. And then we have some other things like log shipping specific group maintenance solution, which is something by Ola Hallengren that is incredible. If you go to ola.hallengren.com, that is straightforward enough, I think, for accidental DBAs as well to use, and so on. So at the server level, we have the domain, we have the instance, which is SQL Server, and then the server level is computer. So we have these checks. And when it says type, so some of the checks run against SQL servers, and some of them, which we call SQL instance in DBA tools, and some of them run against computer name. So if it's a Windows-based check, such as a domain, then it'll use computer name. And if you have these as well, power plans, SPNs. Yeah, Ola has an amazing set of index maintenance too. Like I got to meet him in real life, and he was super nice. He was super down to earth. He was asking about open source, and that was so incredible. He's a really, really nice guy, and he's super brilliant. He works in one of the Nordic countries as a DBA at a large bank. Thank you so much, Pinion. So if you go to olahallengren.com, you can install his stuff. You know, even large companies use Ola Hallengren. I use or his scripts. I use them at every single organization that I go to. It will perform your backups. He also does maintenance for, and what's great about it is that there's a lot of math that goes into figuring out doing proper maintenance on your indexes and stuff like that. And his does all of that math for you, and it'll work on a 10 meg database. It'll work on a 10 terabyte database. Microsoft recommends it. If you go to ola.hallengren.com, you can see all, like, he has the testimonials and stuff, and they come from really large companies. Another thing that he does is he has the integrity checks, and that's basically what you want to do as an accidental DBA. You know, at the very, very least, you want to have your backups, and you want to test your backups. His doesn't have the testing built in, but DBA Tools has something for that. So you want to have your backups. You want to maintain your indexes, which keeps your databases fast. And then you also want to check the integrity, which means that it checks to make sure that you don't have any corruption in your databases. It is not a distraction at all. Thanks a ton. I appreciate it, because I just realized that I kind of skipped over, like, as a as an accidental DBA, what is important, and those are really the three most important right out the gate, and it is covered by Ola Hallengren stuff. This yerba mate keeps me awake, but it doesn't really quench my thirst. So I'm gonna just sit here and drink for a second. Hold on. I hate the sound of swallowing some. Oh, Sean Melton taught me this. If you hit Control and plus, it'll make this bigger. So if you're presenting to an audience, you could do that. Because a lot of times the audience will be like, I can't see. So now we could see all of our checks. These are all of the things that we built within the module to perform your checks for us. So a bunch of DBAs got together and created a bunch of pester tests to simplify this. And then it's all I'm trying to think. Sorry, I just lost my place. I'm getting a little bit tired. I'll probably have to redo this one whenever because man, dbachecks is always great to talk about. Oh, yeah, so we do configs, and then that means that you could have different configurations for your prod and your dev, etc. We use PS Framework. If you go to psframework.org, that provides a super easy way to deal with configs and logging, and it's like enterprise logging. It's cool as hell. It has like little XMLs and so I think some zips and stuff. It's really awesome. All right, so we have descriptions, right? So if you're kind of wondering, like, what does this check do? We actually have those descriptions as well. So I did the dash pass through whenever I specified my out grid view, and that allows me to select a couple things and then hit OK. So let's pass through, I don't know, suspect page. So suspect page it means that little page is suspect, and it might be corrupted, or maybe it certainly is corrupted. So I'm gonna highlight actually a couple. Click OK, and then there it is at the command line. So I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to look for, let's see, oops, Control++, and I'm going to look up for all the backup related commands. So we have test last backup, which is cool as hell. That will actually log into your SQL Server, get a list of all of your databases, get a list of the last full diff and log, and it'll make sure, it'll restore that to a server, and then make sure that it can restore and that it has integrity. So we have last good checkDB. CheckDB is, DBCC CheckDB is what we use to make sure that the database is not corrupt. So you can see the last full backup, last diff, and last log. So when do you... you're going to have to set a schedule, right? If you use Ola Hallengren scripts and you're going to want to back up your databases, the schedule really depends on your company policy. A lot of people will do like weekly fulls, daily diffs, and then the log is super important. Backing up the log is important because otherwise your database is just going to keep growing. It's going to keep that entire, like every single transaction is going to be stored, and then suddenly you have a 100 gig log, and then you're like, oh, how do I shrink it? And then you find out how to shrink it, and then it keeps growing. So then you create, people will create a job to shrink it every night, which is a really bad idea because it fragments it, creates these things called VLFs that make backup and restore take longer. So in order to avoid those growths, what you want to do is back up your log. Some people do that for 15 minutes. I heard that, how did the SQL community decide on 15 minutes? The answer is pretty much like, who knows? You could do it for 60 minutes, but do know that if you lose that database, that's the last point in time that you can return to. So if your organization is okay with losing an hour, then you can set it for an hour. If your organization isn't okay, with an hour, then you can set it for lower. So we want to check our backups, because if you remember, whenever we looked at this DBA monitoring checklist, that's there, right? Backups. Now, what about disk space? Let's see if dbachecks has something for disk space. Oh, check it out. Disk capacity. So, so we do have disk capacity checks. Next up is job failures. That's a big one, right? So the jobs run things like your backups, your integrity checks. I'm trying to think right off the bat what other things. Sometimes you could actually store like trackers in your logs, any type of exports that are required. So if you have a job, it's enabled. It's assumed that it's important that it not have failed. So it's kind of like scheduled tasks, but for SQL Server. And a lot of times, even if something might belong in scheduled tasks, I like the flexibility of the SQL Server agent. So I use that. And if you want to find out more, you can go to dbatools.io/agent, and we give comparisons of how to run it. So I did a comparison of Task Scheduler versus that, and I listed out the cons to it, and then SQL Server Agent. And there's a couple different ways that you can run things there. But yeah, if you're ever interested, I love the way that it handles credentials, because it is in the database engine itself. And so that is an option for you. That's dbatools.io/agent. So let's go back to the checklist. So we have logs. I'm actually not sure if we do the logs, because what will we test for, right? Let's see. Oh, so you have your error log count, and then this is for the maintenance solution. I wonder what error log count does. Let's see. Test that the number of SQL Server error logs is configured, right? So we don't go into the logs to test for specific words or anything. This just makes sure that the logging is properly configured. So we'll skip that one. Job failures. Did I go over that? I don't remember. I don't think so. All right, let's go look at that. Failed job. So right off the bat, well, we could see that as an accidental DBA, you can easily check your failed job. So now you can see by using get DBA check, you can see the list of all of those checks. And what I love about this is that whenever you go here, like there's a couple, like maybe there's 10. Let's see how many checks we have. Get DBC check. Measure object. So we have 102 checks, and these checks are added by the SQL community, and we tend to accept checks that seem like pretty global, right? And if we can make them universal and easy, or if we can make them configurable, then we will add them in. And not every DBA is going to use all of these counts. As an accidental DBA, I think that we could like get away with 5, and then if the organization wants more, then they can potentially hire a DBA. That's what I'm just assuming that would be the solution. Actually, I mean, as a dedicated DBA and often the lone DBA, I don't know how other organizations do it. What happens in an organization without a dedicated DBA? I imagine that either a good chunk of an engineer's time is dedicated to making sure that the SQL servers run properly, or there's not a lot, and the ones that are there are, not as healthy as they could be, or maybe organizations will like get DBA consultants. I guess I have been to organizations where there's not a DBA at all. you just run out of space all the time, and then you do those shrinks. Shudder. All right, let's go. Now that we've seen that, all right, so making server lists. Now that you've seen the checks, Pinion said by the seat of their pants, bare minimum these days from Mike's. Ah, man, that just, it feels wrong. Because, like, to me, right, the most important thing, oh, you got your network because everybody has to talk to each other. And then you have your storage, and then you have your data. And those things, I think, should have dedicated people if it's possible. Because if you lose your data, then you've lost everything. So whenever it comes to the checks, then you need to run the checks against your servers, right? So there's different ways that you can make your server list, and you can execute against different servers in different ways. One way is that you could explicitly say, I want to run it against this instance. So let's do this real quick. So we're going to invoke dbcheck, and we're going to check if they've got any suspect pages, and if the last backups are good. And if we want to know more about those checks, again, we could use get dbcheck to figure it out. Oh, I haven't set servers yet. So let's say servers equals SQL 2017. Oh, V. All right. So I'm running it against SQL 2017, and I'm doing 2 checks. Ooh, nasty, right? So what's really great is that there's no suspect pages, so there's no corruption in our databases, and you could see the databases are master, model, MSDB, tempdb, so those are the system databases, and then the rest is test and test clone. All right, so it looks like our full backups are out of date, right? So the master full backup should be less than 1 day, and it isn't. And then we actually tell you why. Because taking regular backups is extraordinarily important. But, it hasn't been backed up in too long. So that's for the full. This is backing up your entire database. Now, a diff database backup is everything that's occurred since that full. So let's say that you set up a diff to back up every single night. That diff is going to keep growing because you can restore that full from Sunday, and then on Thursday, that'll be everything from Sunday all the way to Thursday, even if you created a diff on Monday. So these are out of date too. And so you could see here that it's 1 day, it's 25 hours, and it's 15 minutes. And where are we getting these values? Because what if in my organization it's 60 minutes? We're getting these values from the configs. So if you do get dbc config out grid view, these are the configurations. Like if you go to, tools preferences, right? That's the configuration for that. These are the configurations for the environment themselves. And if we look at the checks, we can actually see the configurations that are associated with a check. So let's go ahead and load this up again. Get dbcheck out grid view. So it's taking a moment because it is loading up DBA tools, Pester, PS framework, and dbachecks. All right, so here at get dbc config, let's look at our backups. Right, so the diff max hours is 25, the full max days is 1, and the max minutes is 15. And which one? So here we go. The name, that's the policy. And then if we go here, if we look at backups, oops, why? The config, here you can see the configs that it's managed by here. And don't get overwhelmed because there are a lot of configs, but if you are just running like one check, then it's only going to use that one config. And you're like, well, how do I manage that config? Well, you can do it a couple different ways. Let's say that you want to change this, right? We want the full to be 7 days. We want the diff to be, actually, we'll make it I don't know, 10 hours, something. And then the log backup, we're going to change that to 60. So you could do set dbc config name, and then you can just tab if you would like. Oh, yeah, Shane told me about this the other day, so I'm going to practice it again. Control spacebar. Yes. So these are all of the possibilities when you hit tab. These are called dynamic. Well, actually, sorry, they aren't called that. We use dynamic parameters to automatically populate this. So I could set it. Let's just set something that I don't know. What was it? Over here. Full max days. All right, app.sql instance. Is that true of all commandlets? Which part is true? I don't know anything about IntelliSense. I know that's associated with Visual Studio. So Pinion had asked, is this true of all commandlets? Are you talking about like the control? Are you talking about the dynamic parameters for dbachecks? That one was explicitly the listing of the properties. Like doing this, where you do get dbc config, and then, and no, wait, hold on, tab, and then you do control space, and then hit yes. This is, if that's what you're asking, this is built in to PowerShell. I learned it the other day when I was twitching, and the tab key thing. All right, so the population has to be explicitly done, and it's explicitly done in a variety of ways. There's like this old way. I'm very happy to help you with that, because that's something that I love. Like, I spend all my days tabbing, and we have a lot of tab support in DBA tools. It used to be called dynamic parameters, PowerShell, and it was like this really kind of old code. Let's see, 2014. Prior to V5, you had to, well, first of all, you can actually do it pretty easily by this validate set. So the validate set, hey, Art, fuel, is it fuel? Is it fuel? Fool. One of those. So if you are, thank you for joining us. We're talking about PowerShell and the tabbing and stuff. So if you do this, the validate set, lemonade, water, tea, coffee, that's like a really direct way to add tab completion, all right, to your command. But you can also add it. Let's say you want to add tab completion for a list of databases, but you won't know your databases until you connect to your SQL Server, or that is made after the fact, or something like that. There's ways that you can do that dynamic parameter. And it was added in V5 by Jason Shirk, tab expansion plus. So Jason, also known as Lazy Biker, he created this for V3, right? These dynamic validation that allows that tabbing, and then they took his commands and they put it into PowerShell itself in V5. So if you're supporting that old stuff, then you could do tab expansion plus. In V5, you could just look up, like, I don't know, PowerShell tabbing V5 automatic. How to use tab completion in the script pane using tab expansion. Oh, check it out. We got some docs. Awesome. This is just telling you how to use it, not how to develop it. You complete me. That's super cute. Jeffrey Hicks. Darn it. It's not about development yet. Dynamic tab completion. So here's somebody maybe asking about it, and then that got really complex. Ours is really complex, which is why I'm hesitant to show our code. In one instance, it's the old way to do it. In another instance, with DBA tools, we have a whole bunch of caching. We have like a caching engine that we run. But anyway, yeah, if you just look up maybe some of those words, let me see, git command. Tab. It's one of the native commands that I wish that I knew off the top of my head. But yeah, it's dynamic parameters. So if we go back here, let's set, do all new fresh computer science graduates should feel you're speaking in Chinese? Does that mean that, I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm so sorry. Whenever I first picked up PowerShell, it felt that way. And it took me a while to get it because I was coming from a VB script background and like Tickle and Bash, and it just wasn't anything that I was used to. And that's why I try not to teach beginner PowerShell, because the way that my brain learned it. So if you're interested in PowerShell, which is fantastic for automation, and it just like it changed my life, and it's so much fun. If you're interested in it, there's PowerShell on a month of lunches, and that really takes. Most people that I know have used it to learn PowerShell and say that it's very effective. And the answer, I think, yes. If you're fresh out of computer, if you're a CS graduate and you haven't seen PowerShell before, I think that it does take a moment to get used to. But then it's my favorite because you have things like there's a lot of standards around naming that makes it a lot easier. The dynamic parameters, though, that's some advanced stuff. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to clear this because that's just a whole bunch of values. I'm going to set the configuration, and the configuration is going to be app.sql instance. Nope. Let's see. Policy, backup, max full days. All right. So set dbc config name app dot. Oh God, I already forgot. PowerShell is awesome. And, if you do have any sysadmins that want to restrict it, if you go to dbatools.io/secure, I wrote a whole guide that is intended to help show that PowerShell, awesome. Thank you so much, Pinion. I wrote a whole guide that shows how PowerShell using that is way safer than even logging into the GUI. So policy, backup, max full days. This is why I keep forgetting. Policy, backup, max. So full days. Okay, so the value, 7. Because right now it's 1. Cool. All right. There we go. But you're like, that's like super hard to remember. And it's, So we created something that's amazing called export dbc config, right? You set your path, ctemp, I don't know, let's say lab.json. Let me delete my other lab.json just in case it's there. It is no longer there. So we export all of those things to an easily editable JSON file. Open with, I don't know, Notepad. Let's see. If this looks terrible, I'll just go get VS Code real quick. Oh, check it out. All right, so instead of using set, which you absolutely can, what we recommend is that you export all of the settings, you modify them, and then you import them as required. So let's look up full. So that's job, that's the OLA stuff. max full days. There it is, right? So right now it's 7. Let's make that 17. So we could do get dbc config. Oh, no. Config name policy backup full days max. That was me. The reason that I typed it so fast was at the very end I hit tab. So we can see it's 7. Now since I made this change, then I saved it. I love JSON. We can just import dbc config. Oops. Path temp lab.json, and then it's gonna import everything. And actually I need to file this, as I'm not sure why this happens, and I thought that it was just my other machine, but it doesn't, so I'm gonna have to file an issue about that. Okay. So anyway, it took all of that, and now what we should see is instead of it being 7, it's going to be 17. Boom. So what you can do is you can have, if your prod has different expectations from your lab, you can have a config file for prod. You can have a config file for your lab. You can have a config file for your DMZ. And then you can take that config file and you could store it in GitHub. And so, or any type of version control, and you can always have that around. So that is awesome as hell. So let's actually set this to stuff that we really, really want. Yes, yeah. So by default, we came up with like some things, and if you do that import, it actually writes it to your registry. Thanks to the PS framework stuff, he took care of all of that. So it writes it to your registry unless you do this. So you could do, where was it? Import, and then you say -temporary, and that puts it somewhere. And I'm not exactly sure where. I think that temporary stores it in memory, but that means that it's not going to be writing to your registry. So let's go set some real values. So max full days, full hours. For the full hours, it's something related to database. This, yeah, so dbachecks automates the way that DBAs can check all of their environmental validation. And then at the end, it has this really beautiful output that I just absolutely love. All right, so let's just say the max diff hours are going to be 10. The max full days are going to be 7. And the max minutes, let's see, where's the log stuff? We have the log directory because, sometimes, you need to make sure that let's say it's standard, that everything is on L:\\. Then you can set that there too. By default, it's null. I wonder how many logs appear on this. This is really, I love this module so much. It's something that I've wanted my entire career, and it just works. It's awesome as hell. Oh, here we go. Log max minutes. I want 60. So what I'm gonna do is I just created a PR on Twitch the other day, adding this functionality. It used to be that before, what you would have to do, I think I'm gonna close that one. Thank you. It is. It's like it's so fun. It's beautiful. It's impressive. It's a joy to use. I totally love this module. And it was interesting. There were, I don't know, like 11 of us that worked over a 2-month period Rob and I had gotten selected to speak at the SQL Bits Precon in London, and we wanted to debut dbachecks there. So all of the developers, we got together, we made it work, and then we all wrote blog posts that were scheduled to all post at the same time. I think it was like lunchtime during bits, and then there was just like a bonanza of like, check out dbachecks. And it's just improved ever since then. It's so awesome. People came in, they did some performance enhancements in the community. There's this guy, he's Polish, so I think that he probably pronounces his name Mikkel. Oh, how cool. Dude, I love Glasgow. Oh my, are you in Glasgow? I'm super jealous. You know, Americans, we say Glasgow. and then Rob was like, Chrissy, it's Glasgow. And I was like, all right. But yeah, I am in love with that city. I look forward to SQL GLA every single year. I know, I'm so excited. All right, so I think I did this right. Clear. I have too many windows open. All right, so now what we're going to do, I'm not gonna, let's see, invoke dbc check. Oh, you know what we need to add to this is our list of servers, right? No, SQL instance. Nice. What? There's no SQL instance? Man, I tried to get into Tim Hortons because I'd heard so much about it. I didn't love it. I didn't love it. So if you remember before, you do dash SQL instance, and then you add your instances. And you could do it that way, where it's, you know, what's it called? Ad hoc. Or you can add all of your SQL instances. So if you do this, you know, lab, DevOps, you know, your dev, your DMZ or whatever, you can set all of your SQL instances here, and then you set it and forget it. So let's just say that SQL 2017, SQL 2016. I wonder if my JSON is formatted properly. We'll see, I suppose. So there's my SQL instances, and then I also need to set my computer name. What? Yeah, we are certainly going for data GLA in September. Are you going? Because it's free and it's awesome. I've been going for the past, I think it's 2 years. I did the inaugural one with Beard and William and Andre. And then it was so magical. The first year I didn't bring my wife. A lot of times we have issues. We have a cat that has severe asthma and has to be given medicine twice a day. So we have to have a cat sitter. And we probably couldn't make it match up. Hell yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He's awesome. You guys are so, like, so many. Whenever I went there, I didn't know that Scottish are known for being so nice. And I just came back home and I was like, it was magical. Everybody was so nice. And so when I think of Craig, I think of so nice. Oh, Paolo Nutini is like one of my favorite singers ever. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to put on some Paolo. I'm obsessed. Love him. Paolo. No, there we go. Haha. I don't even know what these words mean. Cracking probably means awesome. Bloke means dude. He's an awesome guy. Have you hung out with Paolo Nutini? I heard that he lives in Paisley and that you could just chill with him when he's in Paisley. It's one of my favorite albums. I'm listening to it, but I don't share my music because there's this dude Wardbox that I like watching, but like he gets muted sometimes, and I don't want it to be muted. Yeah, I love Paolo Nutini, and I also love the Daikinis, and they just got back together. That's one of my favorite bands ever. And there were like three other bands that I was like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with music from Glasgow. I like hearing the accent too. Yeah. So what I did was I set my SQL instance and my computer names. That way, whenever we run our disk checks, it'll know to go to those two computers. And hopefully I did it right. It's really hard working in Notepad, but I don't have, this is like just kind of a fresh server. So what I want to do is I want to invoke dbc check against, oh, well, I'm not, oh, so first config file, I added this feature on Twitch just the other day. Oh my God, it was hell because I added it and then I did some clever code at the bottom. Because basically invoke dbc check is a wrapper for invoke pester. And the way that I did it was kind of clever, and clever code will get you in trouble. So I spent like an hour and a half extra on this Twitch stream, and people are like jumping in to help like with the debugger and stuff. Sean was like, hey, let's do the live share. And so yeah, it was painful because I kept thinking that it was a bug, and then it wasn't. It was just my code, which was essentially a bug. So I added config file because before what you would have to do, oh man, I forgot that. Hold on, let me put on mute. Later, Art. Um, so I forgot that this causes burps, and so I was like, shit. So before, what you would have to do whenever you're running uh, the checks is you would have to import. Let's say you have to import your dev thing, or let's say prod. So you're importing your prod JSON. What you'd have to do is import prod JSON. So import dbc config, the path, and then run your checks. Dang it, hold on. This is super embarrassing. I drank too much bubbly, and then now it's like caught in my chest. Um, so instead of having to run those two commands, what I did was I added config files so that we could do ctemp lab.json, and then it'll import temporary with that dash temporary, and then you don't have to worry about it. So we're running the dbc check with this specific config file, and here are the checks that we're going to run. And I think that you can actually even do the specific checks within. I know you can exclude checks, and maybe you can include the checks, but right here what we're going to do is we're going to tell it the checks that we want. So in this case, I want to do the check about, I could hit tab, but that's like it's 100, right? Let's see, storage, disk. There, disk capacity. So let's see, this should check the disk capacity of 2017 and 2016. I may have had to run this in admin, we'll see. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's interesting. So I would have expected that because I specified, oh, maybe I didn't save. And then I'm just going to do the import. Let's try again. Dang it. It didn't set it. That's interesting. Is it because it's temporary? But I thought that I did computer. Let's see, computer name. Yeah, so I set it here and it should have worked. Maybe there's more. Maybe there's another one called computer name. Okay, let's see if get dbc check. Well, it wouldn't because it's temporary. Maybe I needed to actually write it to registry. Maybe I'm using the temporary wrong. All right, so dbc check name. Oh, pattern. Whatever. That's a pattern too. Okay, I guess not. Dang it. Oh, that's why. Computer. Oh, that's the check. Get dbc config name app.computer name. No. All right, so I wonder if I introduced the bug by doing dash temporary because I didn't want it to be written. So what I'm going to do is import dbc config ctemp lab.json. Well, fuck. The hell? Why? What fail? What failure? That's a terrible. That looks like one of my error messages. All right, so. Oh, check this out. So if you do error and you get the first one in the array and then you select star, you can see what's up. Oh God. Oh, that's why. Oh, thank God. Okay, so basically what happened was that I did it wrong here, so my JSON's messed up, and I have an idea of where. You remember I was worried about that? Let's just make it 2017, comma. Let's make it 2016. 2016? I should be able to talk to 2016. All right, SQL 2017. It's just because I don't know how to use JSON. Or whenever I do, I have an editor that tells me what to do. What happened? Something else that I need to do? So I need to file some issues. Oops, whatever. Better error for import that fails. All right. It's true, you're right. Let's do that. Ah, that's nice. Okay. Look. Oh my God. Wow, it was way off. So that's what I'm going to have to do. Oops. All right, so whenever I do that 2016, so let's go back to SQL instance. Thank you so much. That was a really great suggestion. It looks like I did that right. SQL 2017, SQL 2016, and delete that, take that value, and then let me apply it to computer name. Goodness, I was off. All right. And I'm not getting any kind of formatting errors, it looks like. Yeah, so I think that should work. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Now that I have more faith in it, we're just going to do, let's go back, clear. All right, so again, what we're going to be doing is we're importing that config file, which says run it against 2016 and 2017, and just check the disk capacity. So what that did, the first one is that it says it couldn't update the configuration, which is something we had seen before, which we need to figure out what's going on with that. But now, you know what I'm gonna do? I don't even like seeing that, so I'm just gonna say warning action silent. What? What? How is that possible? Whatever, clear. Let's do it again. Okay. All right, so you can see here that SQL 2017 has 60% free, and we expect that our server is going to have at least 20% free. So this passes. In our environment, 2017 is up to snuff whenever it comes to storage capacity. Now, oh God. So SQL 2016 has 0% free, and it should be at least 20, so it should be at least 20% free. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on with SQL 2016 real quick. Maybe oh man, I need to update that server. Let's see where it's at. It's super annoying. Anyway, let me add that to my to-do list. SQL 2016 has 0% space. Gotta go fix that. So this is a super huge fail. I want to do something real quick. Invoke command, computer name, SQL 2016, script block, get volume probably. Maybe get partition. No. Okay. Anyway, that actually confirms that it can access remotely, and there's just 0% space left. All right. So we have one check down, right? In our environment. Let me go back here. So we've checked the disk capacity. Now let's also check the backups that we were talking about before. I need to go and look at my checks. It's true. Admittedly, I don't use dbachecks on my my lab. This is my home lab. But I certainly use it everywhere else, and it's so awesome, especially whenever you can output it to the beautiful Power BI at the end that I'll be showing. So the next thing that I want to do is actually get the checks again. I'm sorry, y'all. I have a terrible memory. Get DBC check. And then I'm going to do out grid view pass through so that I can copy. Full. All right, unique tag is last full backup. So if I run last full backup, then that's going to work. So let's do this one by one. Last full backup. I hate that there's no space there, so I'm going to go back and put it. Man, I hate that warning. Sweet. All right, so now we've added this to the list. We've added now as an accidental DBA, we're checking our disk capacity, and we can see that our last full backups, they need to be backed up. So let's go ahead and fix that. One way to do it is using DBA tools. DBA tools I think is like great for a one-off, but on a regular basis, a lot of times what I'll do is instead of using DBA tools, I'll just go and start. I'll start my Ola Hallengren job. So you can see here on 2016 these jobs, right? So this comes from Ola Hallengren stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run all my jobs. Check my job. So, why? Bruh. Oh, you know why? Because I have no space. So I'm just going to take 2016 out of the mix. So let me go back here. I'm just going to do SQL 2017. I'll leave that like that. Hopefully that works. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to undo that. I'm going to just make this SQL 2014 should be in better health. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it looks like when I run it against 2014. We're using that config file. Oh, I've done it here, but I need to go back to 2017 and save it there. So I've now saved that. So now the lab.json is going to evaluate SQL 2017 and SQL 2014 for their disk capacity and last full backup. So SQL 2014 looks way healthier whenever it comes to the disk health, and I'm really excited about that because that means that we can. This is kind of like gamifying getting your environment healthy, right? So I see all green here, but I see some red up here, and I feel really compelled to fix all of this. So so it's looking like SQL 2017 is pretty healthy, and SQL 2014 needs a lot of backups. So let's go ahead and log into SQL 2017. Sorry, SQL 2014. See how many databases it has. Not too many. So the jobs, what I'm going to do is run this and hopefully it'll run. And those shouldn't be too big, so they shouldn't take too long. That's just the user databases, so excellent. So now we have backed up SQL 2014, the full. Now that's just user database, so I should expect to see a few more failures at the system database level. So you can see that here, this is much better. This is much healthier, but we still need to back up our system databases. And this shouldn't take long at all. There we go. Oh my God. So now this is like really healthy. So let's go ahead and pile on. What else do we want? How about some jobs, right? So these agent jobs, we're expecting that if a job is enabled, that its last run state should be a success. So let's go ahead and check our jobs. I don't know if you guys remember that from, I think there's a South Park episode. Every time I hear jobs, I'm like, all right. Let me close this because I'm driving myself crazy. Sorry, y'all. I click a ridiculous amount. We need an agile change right away. You know, I considered it, but I was like, I should have pulled request earlier. Because I do want to change the tool with that is driving me crazy. The chicken gerbs. Ridiculous. All right, so now let's see how healthy the jobs are. I would imagine that's probably called failed jobs. We do have backups. It's so green and beautiful. I love it. Feels good. So let's go see if this breaks it. So agent, no, let's see, job. Failed job. So now it's going to run the disk capacity checks, the full backup checks, and then it'll check to see if there are any failed jobs on SQL 2017 and SQL 14. And it's getting this information from the config file. All right, so let's see. It skipped some, and that is because it is unknown, which isn't uncommon. That probably means that the job has never run on this server. But I wonder if we can make something fail so you could see that. But so far, it's we're looking decent here, right? So SysPod, so this is the only one that's enabled on 2017, and then 2014 has all these others. Now we're going to, so we're still looking pretty good. I wish that I could know how to create a failure real quick, but I'm not creative with that. But what we want to do is last diff backup, right? So we get a lot of failures there because we have full backups, but we don't have diff backups. And, you know, you could actually just use full and log backups. That is okay. But I think in most environments, oh, thank you. All right, Pinion, let's do it. So what we're going to do is output file cleanup is probably a SQL job. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a job fail, and we'll do this by edit, and I'm going to use architect 1. Oh God. Oh geez. That is not what I wanted to paste. Oh shit. Wait, this is command exec. I'm going to have to change that. This is terrible. 2. All right, let me try again. Copy. Paste. All right. Now I got to change this to T-SQL. Database, you know, this one. All right, so I'm gonna delete this. Excellent. So the output file cleanup. Let's fail it. Fail. Boom. You saw select 1. All right, so now we have one failed job. Let's go ahead and run this again to confirm. I was doing an audit one time, and I was showing them Pester, and they were like, I'm gonna need you to fail something because this is a lot of green. And I was like, all right, so I have to go fail something. All right, so you know what I'm going to take off? The last diff backup so that the failed job is going to stand out. So there we have it. So we have our greens, right, which is the last step succeeded. And then we have the unknowns, which essentially means it doesn't know because it's never run. And then we have this failed job. Christine. It's Chrissy, but my other name it would be Christina because it was the Tina that I had to cut off and just become Chrissy. And so, welcome. Thank you for joining us, Solomon. Oh, no problem at all. So you could also call me CL. A lot of people call me CL now, which is pretty neat. All right, so we have this. We have one failed job. Very exciting. And you know how I'm going to make it succeed? I'm just going to delete it. But we've confirmed that there's a failure. And now when we run this again, I'm going to have some warnings. And overall, we skipped some and we passed a whole lot. So it's true. So my wife is great at hacker names. And I was like, I need a handle. Like, you know, Joey on Hackers. He's like, I need a handle. I was like, I need a handle because I had some dumb handles. See, trying to remember my old handles. So I think when I first got on IRC, I was Chrissy X3. But then I I got too much attention because my name was not like Joe Bad. So then I changed it to Azure because I know IRC is where I met my first girlfriend in 1995. I think 1995, 1996. I used to hang out in the Tori Amos chat room on Undernet. And so I changed my name to Azure. But I never felt like an Azure. Anyway, so years later, I was like, what's my hacker name? And she was like, Control B, because you bold. And I was like, oh my God, that's magical. I love that story. She has some other good hacker names that I can't remember right now. But because mine was so good that my friends were like, oh, can I get one too? So why not Cornflake Girl? Because we would go back to the same girl problem, you know. Girls on IRC, people are aggravating. And they'll be like, ASL? And I'm like, no, I hate ASL. ASL is age, sex, language. No, wait. Age, sex, what's the L? Location. That's what it is. People used to just give that shit out, if you can believe that. Yeah. So they pop in, they'd be like, ASL. Yeah. And so, you don't get too many ASLs if you are, punk robber. I don't know, something like that. So I just kind of wanted a gender neutral thing so I could just chat because I just want to chat. And I didn't have to deal with ASL. And so, yeah, but I got a bomb ass hacker name, Control B. It's taken at a lot of places though, which makes me sad. Is that get the fuck out? So what we want to do as getting back to the accidental DBA. So if you're a systems engineer and you've been put in charge of managing a SQL Server or one or more, you have some basic things that you want to check all the time, right? And you can use dbachecks. You can use dbachecks to help you with that. We have over 100 checks, but you don't need to run them all. You just need some basic ones. I mean, you kind of grow into it, as you become more comfortable with SQL Server. But some really important things: you have to have a solid disk capacity, DISA. Which is like this auditing thing for the government. They recommend like 20 or 25% minimum. Your last full backup. So you have to have backups for your data. And then if you're running a job, so if you have scheduled tasks, if they're enabled, you expect that they should be running. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that our diffs are good. Again, you have your full, which is your entire database backup. A diff is everything since that full database backup, which is kind of like incremental. And then you have your logs, which are super duper important. Otherwise, your database grows a whole bunch. So what we're going to do is next on the list, we're going to add diff backup. Ooh, and so we have a lot of nasty diffs, right? Miss Diff if you nasty. So let's do the diffs on 2014. There's going to be very little changes because I just did some fulls. And on 2017 as well. And I could actually do this in DBA Tools. I'm being ridiculous. Let's do it in DBA Tools. Get DBA database, SQL instance, SQL. Dang it, why isn't it doing it? You can actually, that's why, because I haven't run it yet. It actually auto-completes this too. So we just got the databases. You pipe that to, backup, DBA database. Actually, I don't need to set anything else. I don't think. I might have to set the path. Let's set our backup path. Backup directory, DC SQL. So what it's doing is, check it out. So it got all of the databases, and then it backed it up to that database backup directory, DC SQL. And I apologize that it's like going off the screen. Check this out. So you see how it's just SQL instance, database, type, total size, device type, start, duration, and end. There's actually a lot more information. And if you're familiar with SharePoint, you have these things called views, and you can look at data in different ways, right? By default, we hide some information because too much information can make things ugly and kind of scare people off. But what you can do is select star, and that will just essentially unhide all of that data. And then what I'm going to do is out variable A. So now we're backing it up, and you can see that we had that small amount of information before, and now we have all of this stuff, right? Because, if you're just backing up, you really don't want, maybe, you probably wouldn't want to know the checkpoint LSN, but you can get it if you want, right? So you do A and then checkpoint LSN, and there you have it. So select stars if you find that any command in PowerShell, if it's not giving you enough information, you can try that. All right, so now that we've backed up our databases, so cool. To do that as SP, MS for each DB, and debug the quotes is a total pain. Man, I remember whenever I first found MS for each DB, I was super pumped, and then I realized it was painful entirely. And whenever I found PowerShell, and I'm like, oh, this is what PowerShell was made to do. So I really liked it. I did want to do something. Oh yeah. All right. So the thing here is that we backed it up, but we just made a bunch of fools. What I wanted to do is do type diff. And then that way I could, now I'm backing up the diffs. And if you guys saw, that was like a whole lot faster. And next up after this, we're going to use the same thing, but we're going to say the logs. So let's go ahead and make sure, ooh, check this out. We're going to run it against two different commands. Two different servers. SQL 2017 and SQL 2014. So many of our commands by default, almost all of them, do support multiple SQL instances, and even with like copy DBA database, there's multiple destinations and stuff like that. So we try to go as multiple as possible. So you can see here that, why did it only output for 2017? Or does 2014 not have? And I'm super embarrassed. Have you ever set last out? That is a great question. Thank you, Cube. Adilio is asking about the last out in my PS profile, and it's true. What you can do is, instead of doing like out variable, I actually hadn't until the last time that we had a stream. How did that happen? That's weird. Thank you. I appreciate it. The answer is yes, I have. I did it on my last Twitch, and I loved it. And I was like, oh yeah. I'd forgotten that would be possible. So I did add it to my profile on my main box, but this one I didn't. So, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the command again. I think I'll just increase the size of this RDP session because it's just too small. No, too late, Chrissy. I already decided to. Let's do show options. Whatever. I'm just going to go full screen. This might annoy me. All right, that's better. All right, so what I'm going to want to do is, so we've backed that database up. Now we're going to do the check for the last diff. Oh my God, I love all of that green. So now we're gamifying SQL Server administration. We have skipped 7 and we have passed 42. The reason that we've skipped is because those are in an unknown state. And so we don't know. Maybe it failed, maybe it didn't. All right, so now as an accidental DBA, I feel like I'm making some progress. Now I want to do is Rob, really? He has such a thick, pretty British accent. It sounds very fancy to my American ears. Or is it because I'm pumped? So wait, what was I doing? Okay. So, oh yeah, the backups. So I believe, you see how I was adding that on, right? We were doing last full, oh yeah. We do. We get like, it's so fun presenting with him because we both get just as excited about it. So you can see here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move failed job over here. Oh, and I don't know if you can see behind me, but I put together, oh, sorry, my wife was very sweet and she was like, you need a thing for your awards. And the award at the top is the one that we won in Ireland, which blew my mind because when I didn't know that SQL Saturday Dublin offered awards, and it was an amazing, amazing SQL Saturday because I got to meet all the people that I grew up with, like Kimberly Tripp. I was so excited to see her. Man, who else was there? It was just like this all-star, super amazing SQL Saturday Dublin. I think Kevin Klein was there. Kim's husband, the guy who invented DBCC, Paul, was there. Buck Woody was there. Everybody, and I was doing a lightning talk, and those are super hard to do because it's really easy to just, talk for hours. It's way harder to be very precise in 5 minutes. And I had practiced so many times that it became muscle memory. And as I had planned, I had 4 seconds left. And anyway, I ended up winning the lightning thing that I knew that they were offering an award for that. So I was like, I want to get that lightning talk award. And then it turned out that they were offering an overall award. And as I think it was Bob Duffy, as he was like saying, all right, so the next one we have, it was amazing. We got like 60 responses and like only one was a 4 and the rest were 5s. And like he's looking at me as he's saying this and my heart is like beating out my chest. I'm like, is this possible? Because he's looking at me and then he's like, come to the front, Chrissy and Rob. And I just lost my mind. And what was really great about that is this one is the lightning talk. And then Rob was able, because we were dual presenters, Rob was able to take his award home. But it's interesting presenting because there's some times where, man, it's just like high five. And that one really was. The energy was great that day. It was just like perfect timing. We were like telling jokes and stuff. But there's other times where you can give the exact same, you can give that exact same presentation, which I think we did in a couple years later in Iceland. And, it just, you just like feel a different energy. And so, I remember in Holland recently, I gave a talk I gave it with John Luca so wait, you were there? Pinion? That'd be cool. You saw us in probably another city, huh? But yeah, like we gave a presentation. Oh, Glasgow. Okay. Oh yeah. I loved that session. That was so much fun. That was right. We had just come off of, I think, the SQL Pass thing. I really, really loved that. Yeah. And so, but it is interesting that you could give that same one. Like whenever I was in Holland and I presented with Spaghetti DBA, like I talked too long about a specific thing. And then maybe I like stumbled over a word and then I was just like kind of deflated. And then I think 2 weeks later, we gave it in Belgium, and it's just like high five. And so it is interesting how it can vary by day. And I'm really, really happy and excited that that day that they happen to be given awards was one of me and Rob's best presentation ever. We had just so much fun. And so what I'm going to do, this is for dbachecks. We've run the disk capacity and fail job, and then we're doing all these backups, right? But instead of typing all of those out, there's also groups. So let's look at grouping. What I'm looking for here is the last a group that has last diff backup, last log backup, and last full backup. And I'm assuming that that group is called backup. So let's see if that's the case. Oh God, no, this has too much. All right, so one of our tests, this is doing a verify only. So this is actually restoring backups and testing the verify only. So this is a bit too broad. And you can actually disable this in your config. So right now it is restoring to each of those. And we can see here that the restores, let's see. All right, this goes a bit slower. Verify only tests of last backup. So we restored our backups and we did the verify only. So our backups are restorable-ish, is verified. But not exactly verified, because what you always want to do is do like a full backup, or not always, but you should consider restoring your backups and then running the dbcc check. Hey, what's up, Solomon? So the last backups, you can see that our log backups are failing, right? And so they're failing on both of them. And what this is going to lead to are big old bloated databases, and they're going to fill up your drive. So it's super important, even as an accidental DBA, that you're backing up your databases at least full and log. Those are so important. One time I inherited an environment. I couldn't believe it. There were no log backup, and the dude before me was a DBA. He was hired. That was his lifelong career. No log backups and nightly shrinks, and I died. I came back to life, and then I installed Ola Hallengren's maintenance solution and got that fixed properly and disabled that shrink job. So you don't want to shrink. I know it's horrifying. There were a whole bunch of things wrong with that setup. All right, so what we want to do now, if you remember, so get back up. You know what we're going to do? We're going to go back to our live.json. And then I'm going to disable God, this is going to be terrible. I'm going to try it anyway. You know, I would rather dev in full recovery than prod, than things happening with prod. Just thinking about it, my feet are sweating. Why not? Why? What's wrong? Just let me open it, bruh. What's your problem? All right. So, test. What I'm trying to do is disable that test backup. All right. So this is don't run test DBA last backup. And that's true. Skip backup testing. But then I called it anyway. Oh, maybe I can, you know what I could do? So I'm going to find out. So maybe what I could do is add on an exclude check. I'm going to be explicit, right? I know this is probably way too late, but I came across your script for migrating SQL instances and SQL databases. But each time that I run them, I get the error. The term start DBA migration is not recognized as a commandlet. Am I doing anything wrong? You don't have to answer right now because I know you're busy, but I need help. So I would say that the best place to go for help is if you go to SQL Community, or if you go to dbatools.io/slack, SLACK, you can join our Slack chat room. And we have like 800 people, and all of the core developers for DBA tools are in there as well. And we provide a lot of tech support in there. When it comes to if it's not recognized, it probably wasn't installed properly. So we would want to go through where it's installed, and if it's not in your module path. So if PowerShell doesn't have, well, I'll show you right here. env, PS module path, split. So if you don't have it in this path, then it's not going to find it by default. Let's say that you had it in a path called, right here, DBA tools, which you'd want to do because it's not in your path where PowerShell can look. You'd have to be explicit about your import. So you'd want to say import module like C users control B DBA tools.psd1. And that will import the module, and then the command will become available. It took me a very long time. I used to have to Google the PS module path every single time because I'm like, why isn't $PS module path working? But then I did it so many times that it ended up sticking. Wow, already 3:30. The alternative thing that you could do, Solomon, is instead of being explicit about your import, just find one of these like this. Just go there and paste the DBA tools into here, and then it's going to find it. All right. So what we want to do is we want to use that backup group, but we want to exclude the thing that does the restore. And so I have to find the thing that's doing that verify only restore, right? So let's go back here. Oh, and something else, actually. I think that we have all of our checks listed. By now, instead of doing this, going back and forth so many times, I would probably just export my my checklist to a text file that I could just Control F. No problem. It is my pleasure, and thank you for using the module. Palo, not such. The Iron Sky EP, it's too different. It's too different. I'm going to go for some Sunny Side Up. Candy. That's a good ass song right there. You guys look up Paolo Nutini Candy. Let me just paste that there. Copy song link. That's beautiful. Got such a thick accent too. I love it. All right. So now I want to verify. All right. Test, backup, verify only. So I want to exclude that. I'm going to click OK so I could just copy. Let's see if this works. It does. Excellent. All right. So this time around, what we've done is we've said, hey, everything in that backup group, run that, except for the test last backup verify only, because I don't want you to do that. The one reason why I might not want to do that is because it is restoring to the server itself. So if it got it from SQL 2017, then it's going to restore it to SQL 2017, and that might take some resources in a production server. I believe that we also have we did create the ability to have like a dedicated backup and restore test server, and that's what I have. but by default, without modifying the config, that's what would happen. So 2014's backups are tested against the SQL 2014 server, and 2017 is tested against the 2017 server. Doing actually like verify only isn't too heavy, so it's not a huge deal, and that's why we defaulted to verify only instead of restoring the database itself. So I wanted to show this because I wanted to show what the groups are, right? So we have this unique tag, right? So let's say that I only wanted to run test/backup. That's something that I could do. Here, a unique tag in this is a unique tag, right? Disk capacity, failed job. Backup, however, is a group. So you see this all tags. So if I call either backup or database, then it is going to call the last backup, test DBA last backup, or sorry, test last backup. It's going to call all of these. I wonder if, oh man, I wonder if I could do this. Get dbc check group. No, I don't have group. Seems unusual though. I would have thought that we would have been able to do that. Get command module dbachecks. Get dbc tag collection. No, that's just no, I'm not seeing a way to do it. So let's go back here. I was trying to find the groups, but to make it easier, but I didn't. All right, so exclude check tests. We just ran this and we saw that it was good, so I could have just hit up. But what I want to do is do those backups again, right? Type diff, but now I'm just going to do log. So once I run this and all of the logs are backed up, so I am, oh, that's SQL 2017 only. Let me see 2014. Okay, awesome. Okay. This is interesting though, is that it, what? Man, that is super weird. And I'm not sure. Let's see. Select star. Oops. Haha. Set detect. So right now I saw some weird output, and I know that it worked against both of them, but I don't like the output. So I'm trying to figure out where that bad output is coming from. We do use this command slightly differently. All right, something is going on with that, at least on this server. But what I want to do real quick is report issue with get to backup. And then, as kind of a QA end user, I want to see what happens when you do backup DBA database, backup directory, DC SQL, and then specify, because maybe it's a piping issue. Oh, that's why. All right, so backup DBA database is one of the few commands that actually doesn't accept multiple servers. And that was something that I had wanted to add, but I haven't gotten to it yet. So anyway, I'm going to report that later. Whenever we do the test, though, I believe that 2014 did get backed up, but it just wasn't reported properly. So what we're going to do is run it against those two, and we expect that all of the tests are going to pass. Shit. Okay, so 2014 actually isn't being backed up. And I think I might have an idea why. I just want to be clear, this is only whenever you pipe in more than one server and you're using pipes, etc. All right, so the way that I'm going to get this to work is that, okay, I'm going to go and do 2014. I think it might be because we use something, so in a PowerShell advanced command, you have beginning, process, and end, and processes the stuff in that's being piped in. And I think that, and with backup, I think a lot of stuff is being put in end, which is sometimes done, but it might have missed that maybe it makes a collection of servers to process, and then it just skips that part. But with something else that was very strange was that the database names, it was like model over and over and over again. So that's some really weird behavior. And it's behavior that doesn't happen when just one database is piped in. So now we have backed up the log, and we're expecting that instead of failed 8, it'll be failed 0. Oh, actually, so SQL 2017 has been more than 60 minutes, guys. So I'm gonna have to back up the stuff on SQL 2017. Wait, test clone log should be more than 60 minutes. That's not right. Is it? I don't know. We'll see. All right. So I'm expecting now to have one fail. Or let me do the 2017. I wish that there was a better way to do this. There probably is. I'm terrible with the keyboard sometimes. All right. So we backed up them logs. And this should report nothing. No failures. Just some unknowns and some passes. No! Oh, why? No, what is you see, the accidental DBA is going to be like, what am I doing wrong? It's not you. It's me. So test, clone. Guess what? The clone is a clone which doesn't get backed up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and drop it. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about confirm and what if prompts. So remove DBA database, SQL instance, SQL 2017, database, test, clone. Was that the name? So this is a prompt, but now I'm just like questioning if that was the name. Let me see real quick. Test underscore clone. All right. So that is a clone. It's treated slightly differently. Whew. All right. By default, whenever something is as potentially damaging as dropping a database, we add in a confirmation prompt. So you have to say, yes, this is what I want to do. Now, what we can also do is that same prompt allows us to add in this what if. So in this case, what would happen if I were to execute this command? It would perform the operation kill database on test clone on SQL 2017. So I could do confirm, right? And then it will prompt and I'll say yes. Or I can confirm, and because this is a switch, switches are slightly different. You do false, so colon false, and now it's not going to confirm, and it's just going to drop the database, right? So it told you, here's the SQL instance, the database has been dropped. And if I do this, then nothing's going to be there because nothing got dropped. So whenever we go back, I like this song. It's a good song. Which window is doing that? Okay. I'm a little too easy with the clears here. All right, so now now that this accidental DBA has removed the clone, because there's no way that an accidental DBA, I would imagine, would just have like some clones sitting around, because clones aren't commonly used. They're used for very specific things. So this was an unlikely scenario. So now that we're back and we've removed that database that was lying to us, we are going to run this. And this is pretty much going to cover the things that are like super duper important. Man, does that feel good. Now you have all of these greens, and you know, I love Pester, and this was so impressive to me whenever I created Pester for audits, and it's going through like just like thousands of objects, and it's all green and it's all beautiful. I literally I called my boss over and I was like, boss, come watch this, because it's pretty and it's impressive. And he was like, damn. And then I called my other boss, my boss's boss. And then I was like, hey, come see this. And he was like, damn. And everybody was like super excited about it. And even the auditor was super excited about it as well. Those are not direct quotes. He actually didn't say damn. It was probably like more formal. Like, thank you, Chrissy. This was very impressive. But what I loved about Pester is that Pester totally got me a bonus. So something, if I can offer, if you are in an environment where it is possible, if you get excited about something that is as amazing as Pester, and you're doing this validation and you're simplifying things, and you're creating these tools that are simplifying work, like, don't be afraid to call over your boss's boss. I always let people know, because I'm like so excited. I want them to see too, because I look at this and I'm like, this is relief. And so I don't really care that like my boss's boss doesn't really know what PowerShell is particularly. He does know what green is. And so you have all this green flying across the screen. And then you kind of explain like, hey, this is the way that I would do it regularly, right? So I would go and I would like make sure that, that the jobs were running, and I would right click and I would be like, sometimes I'll pull in some of my coworkers and I'll be like, you're gonna watch this with me because it's torturous, and then I'll show you how to do it with PowerShell, and you'll throw a party, and then we'll throw a party together. So I'll be like, this is what I'd have to do. I'd have to log in. We're just gonna torture everyone. We're gonna disconnect because this is what I have to do. Maybe I would even close out SQL Server Management Studio. So you log in, and then you right click, you go to your jobs, you view history. So those are green, great, awesome. And then you go to 2014, you have to go, and then you right click, and then you view history. And those are green too, but why are there only 3? Like, what's happening there? There should be way more. So what you're going to have to do then is, you delete it. You're too aggressive, like with deleting your history stuff. So, or maybe you don't have any, but you're going to have to check. So you're going to have to right click. I'm pretty sure, I didn't run that. But you have to do this. And you'll get things just how you want it. And the sysadmins will restart the box for Patch Tuesday. It's true. But hopefully you're in a state where whenever it comes back, it would be awesome. Are you talking about having all your windows open and stuff? So yeah, this is what it's doing essentially. It's checking. This is what it does. It goes to properties and it's like enabled. Yes. Now that it's enabled, is there a DBA tools commandlet? Yes, for offline, not detach. I believe that is called set DBA database state. Let's look real quick. By the way, it's 3:42 over here, and I'm not gonna go just yet, but I might, my brain might be like a little bit slow. All right, so set DBA DB compatibility, no. Compression, no. Identity, No. Mirror. No. Owner. Not yet. Query store option. Options. Oh. Why is there both an option and an options? Because I named it poorly and then I changed my mind. And then we added in an alias for the people who do use options plural. So there's the recovery model. State, that looks promising, right? So let's see, SQL instance. And then let's go find, I think that there was a database called test. God dang it, I'm so disappointed. This is supposed to auto-populate. And I feel like sometimes it does. Late opinion. It has been a blast having you on. Thank you so much for joining. All right, so, by the way, if you notice that sometimes my screen dims, that is because I use an app, I believe it's free, on my Mac called Hazeover, and it's awesome. Hope to see you next time, Pinion. So who is the one who asked Cube? All right, so Cube, what we're going to do is SQL 2017. And then let's tab through the options. Database, test. Oops, what? I need to press dash. Read only? Is that what you wanted? No, you wanted something else. Offline. Read write? Nope. Online, getting close. Boom. Offline. All right, so now it's offline, and but then I want to set it online. Let's go look at it in SQL Server Management Studio. SQL 2017, offline, what up? So yes, we do have a command for that, and now we're going to set it back to online. All right, cool. Now it's in read write, and it's online. Sweet. So glad to hear that. All right. So, man, let me tell you, like, I had to use like a mass detach and then a mass reattach, and it was so glorious using DBA tools to like just go and just so simplified. Totally love that. Because at first, ain't gonna lie, I logged into like SQL Server Management Studio. I was like, right click. And I was like, no. I could do it for 1 or 2, but I'm not going to do it for like all 20 of my databases. All right, so we got to this really beautiful part where we have all greens, and this is really, really satisfying. But, man, you want to impress your boss? Let's do this. Let's go get Power BI. So, Edge, I don't know what's on here. Internet Explorer, all right. All right, so now we're going to I guess I'll go to google.com. I'm gonna go to English. Okay, I want to point this out. So I'm an American. I'm living in Belgium. Belgium speaks, they have 3 official national languages. One is Dutch, but it's Flemish, right? Which is the default. It's probably Dutch, if I had to guess, in Google itself. Then there's the French, right? And then there's a little section that speaks German. And what I find totally offensive, on behalf of Belgians living in the French part, if you are in the French part, it's still like so many sites will just say here, have the Dutch part. And I'm like, man, if you're going to go through the trouble of, of like proposing the language, at least like just be like, okay, in this section, propose French. In this section, propose Dutch. But in this case, click in English. All right, so now I'm going to get Power BI desktop download. So we see all of that beautiful green, but we can actually take it a step further and see even cooler stuff. And bosses totally love this too. So we're going to download it for free. Or maybe we won't because, you know what I'm going to do? I wonder if I have it all installed there. Because I'm trying to think. Oh, I might have to like fill out a whole form and stuff. I don't want to like fill out a form because I don't want to put fake information, but I want to put real information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this command. I'm going to run it. Oh, this is annoying. All right, so, oh, that's what I'll do. So now I'm going to go and run stuff from my workstation. Yes. So I'm going to get that lab.json. I'm going to put in my own temp. Oops, not temp. And then I'm going to come here. All right, so what you'll notice is that on the 2017 server, whenever I was loading up dbachecks, it was pretty speedy. On this computer, it's not going to be. And the reason is because dbachecks imports DBA tools, and DBA tools notices if you are a developer or if you are an end user. And if you're an end user, it does the import a different way. So for the end users, it was very important to us that we load as quickly as possible. And we address this by using multi-threading. And then also DBA tools. Let's see, GitHub. DBA tools. So an end user will... Actually, I need to delete this one because I went away from that method. An end user is going to import this allcommands.ps1, and that's because it's faster for them. But if you have a .git directory, it means that you've cloned DBA tools. It means that you want to modify, some... Hold on, I need to change this song. It's annoying. Okay, so if you are a developer, then you actually don't want this allcommands.ps1. You want to mess with individual functions. And so what it does is it loads up each of these one by one, and it takes longer. So you could see here, this says 21.66 seconds, and sometimes it's like 12, 14, you know, the next time that I do it. Oh, F, by the way, F is, it's my function that imports DBA tools, dbachecks, PS module framework, and a couple other things. So instead, I don't do import blah, blah, because if I make a change, I just want to do F, and it will import module, DBA tools, etc., dash force, which is what that F is for. So now I've imported dbachecks and DBA tools and so on, and I'm going to execute this. And the reason that I'm doing it on my my workstation is because I want to show you what it looks like whenever we take that all that green beauty and then we put it into a Power BI. On this specific machine, I have issues. F to pay respects. Respects to the changes. All right, on this machine, I don't really know why. I have to manually import the pester. So I do. So I don't like red. It scares people. If anybody's joining the screen, they're like, what is this? You know what they want to see? What? Why? Wait, why? 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 Now I gotta figure this out. Oh, no? Okay, this is, nope. Oh, okay, wait. If I imported pester, let's see, import module. You just catch it all. Nice. You know, let's just, I'll do that too. I'll just put some magenta real quick. Oh, come on, copy, copy. Why you not pasting? I'm trying to change my stuff to magenta too, and it's not liking it at all. There we go. All right. I'm about to get so sad. I have a way around it, but I don't know why it's not working. Like verbose. And it's not even like telling me anything about that either. dbachecks. So I have the latest get dbcheck. Is this command gonna work? There we go. Jesus. This is weird as hell. I'm not gonna even report it because I feel like it's something that I did. Oh, I can't remove it. So something happened. I will take a screenshot. So by the way, for screenshots, I'm using a Mac, and for some reason it eats up my print screen, but usually you could do print screen and capture. Like this is called Snagit, and Snagit is awesome. And the reason that Snagit is awesome is because like, look how easy it is to like just cut it, right? So you could just do this. And then also, if you go to the library, you can see, you know, like, so I've been using this since 2016. Hold on. I've been using it since 2016, and these are like the websites that I've taken photos from, right? And it's not just websites, you can also do applications. So I can go and look at all of, you know, all of my PowerShell specific things. So that's their library, and it's awesome. I'm gonna close that. I do want to take a picture because I might report this. I feel like it is specific to my environment. I'll tell you why. Because I installed it on SQL 2017 and had no problems. So something probably, as you know, as a developer, you do a bunch of dumb stuff to your computer. That's probably why. And now I'm curious, like, how would I generate it now that it's missing? And can I just borrow the checks from my other one? So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to install Power BI because you guys got to get the experience. And I'm just going to give it my real information because that's important. And I will set my screen to a pause screen. Look, I can't even get this. This is terrible. What am I going to do? Okay, give me some advanced download options. Cool, if that worked. Sweet. Fantastic. So Power BI is a free, beautiful analytics thing from Microsoft. It's gorgeous. And the reason that the desktop version is free is, it's true, it is giant. The reason that it's free, I think that, like, you know, it encourages adoption and stuff. And, but there's paid parts, and that's Power BI Online, and then also if you have the Power BI server on-prem, that also costs as well. But I have found in my experience that uh, I can use Power BI very effectively, like for myself, just downloading this free version. But since myself is just testing the stuff that I build, it's probably, I don't know how unusual it is. I was talking to my mom today, and she was like, I imagine you don't get much sleep. And I actually do. Tonight is an exception. Anytime that I stay up at like 4, um, I make sure that I don't do it very often. Because so I used to I was trying to, you know, that feeling that you get of the flow whenever you're super into something and you go to bed late and then you wake up and you're like, oh my god, like I can't wait to just like finish coding this. And that was something that I had longed for, and I got it pretty easy in my 20s. And then I had like this depression and burnout that I just couldn't get out of. And my stepdad was like, hey, why don't you just try sleeping 8 hours a night at the same time for 1 week? Just please just do that for me. And I was like, I had like just massive depression. And depression for me is super boring. So it's not that I'm sad. It's that like, man, nothing makes me happy. Coding doesn't make me happy. Watching Ghost Adventures doesn't make me happy. It's just a very boring thing. And like every second, you're like, oh, God, past that second. And you just kind of have to work through it. Anyway, whenever he told me that, and I tried it for 7 days, it made the biggest difference in the world. And so I do make sure that I get good sleep hygiene. And today is an exception, but unlike whenever, you know, I was trying to, because I used to think that my best time was 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. So I'd try to stay up all night getting to that time. Um, and then I realized that that wasn't really the case. I think 10 p.m. is about the time that I stopped, you know, tweeting or doing whatever and finally got to work. Um, but yeah, so tonight I stay up till 4, but and tomorrow maybe I'll do the same because I kind of messed up my schedule. But certainly, um, it's just gonna be 2 days out of probably the next month. Otherwise, I tried to aim for 8 hours, and that helps me be very productive. All right, so now we have a Power BI desktop running on this SQL 2017. Do not ever do this in production. I don't even install, uh, this is ridiculous. I don't even have SQL Server Management Studio on here because by default, I try not to do that. It reduces your attack surface. I installed SQL Server Management Studio on a centralized workstation, and um, and the same is true for DBA tools. And you know, unless you are scheduling jobs in Agent, just do it from a singular place. Because somebody asked me, how do I update 300 servers? And I was like, let's take a step back and find out why you want to add it to 300 servers. So I wonder if I could escape out of this. I do have a Power BI account, do I? Done. Can I just, nope, I gotta do all that. Oh, that's what it is. Okay. All right. So now this is Power BI, and it's beautiful. And it's cool. And it's free. And what we did is we include the ability to easily turn these pester tests into beautiful Power BI dashboards. So what we're going to do is run this, right? So just making sure everything is still working. And then I'm going to pipe this to export DBC. Nope, that's not what it is. What is it? Updates. Hold on, y'all. I'm going to get through this. DBC. So the command update DBC Power BI data source. And what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take this moment to introduce you guys, if you aren't familiar, to splatting. So you see how this goes all across the screen, and granted it's 24 point font or 18 or whatever, which I like because whenever you present to audiences and stuff, that's about the size that they'll want. But so instead of this where you do it all across the screen, we're going to do a splat, and a splat is this. Splat equals, this is a hash table. So we're going to pass that pretty splat instead of going all across the screen. So we're going to set config file equals C. Now you'll notice here, I don't need the quotes, but because this is a hash table, I need the quotes just because that's what the hash table requires. ctemp lab.json. Looks good. Right now, check equals, gonna prep. All right, so we got disk capacity, failed jorb, backup. And we use that group, so we don't have to type all of those other ones. Right. Next up is exclude check equals, I'm just going to copy paste because it's in the activation thing anyway. All right. And then what we're going to do is pass that splat to PowerShell, invoke dbc check. And then you do, so you see this is $1, so that makes it a variable, but this is a splat, so you want to do @. This got me like the first 80 times that I used it, splat. So let's see if I got this right. So just Control V, and we look at splat. That's what it looks like. Looks proper so far. Now we're going to do this. All right, and you can see, totally works, right? So now I don't have to worry about that. Now what I'm going to do is I want to show you guys, so the, let's see, out variable, results. We're going to watch this happen, and then we're going to do $results. What did I do wrong? Hold on. Oh, that's why. You have to do pass through. So by default, Pester is going to show you stuff at your console, and if you do a pass through, then it can send it to the out variable. I've never used out variable with pass through, so let's see if that works. Oh, that's okay. Alrighty. What was it? Results. Sweet. All right. So this is what Pester actually looks like. So you can see these tag filters, right? And then the test results. So if we do results, I'm going to change this to A, results. So if you do A test result, you get some more details there. And then you could, name, look at all these. These are all the ones that ran, right? You could do whatever you want with this info. What we do with this info is we output it to some JSON files that Power BI consumes. So that's how we work with Pester. So this is Pester, and again, invoke dbc check is a wrapper for Pester. So Pester is really doing all the hard work in the background. So we have this pass through, and when you're updating your source, you do have to use the pass through. Hello, Potato. So Potato won the war. He is allowed to get on my desk because trying to keep him off my desk drove me crazy. So sweet. It's kind of bittersweet whenever he comes and he hangs out, though, because sometimes it means that his asthma is acting up and he wants to be comforted. So I'm going to give him a few little pets. I love you. All right, so doing pass through. Oh, you break my heart. Hey, you're still awake too. I am. I'll probably go to bed at like 4:30. We'll see. I have to get through the whole dbachecks thing. Update DBC. Power BI data source. Now what we're going to see. Hey, it's only 9 p.m. here. Hey, that's really late in the South. You know, stores here are closed. So, see Windows temp dbachecks? No? All right. So if you do update data source, it'll take your results and it'll write it to this JSON file. And in order to, because like Power BI, it, at least whenever we built this, and I don't know if this has been added, they don't have parameters that allow you to dynamically change the data source. So we had to kind of come up with a universal place to put this so that it could work as easy as possible. So by default, it'll do like Windows temp dbachecks, I think. Maybe we'll throw a verbose on there and see what's happening. All right, so you can see here that it created the new directory, dbachecks, and now there's this file in here with all of the results. You know, I think I'm just going to end up installing VS Code on this. What? Did you open it up and then close it? All right, so you can see here are all of the results. And whenever people submit new tests to dbachecks, they have to conform to a very specific thing. And we have unit tests that make sure that their checks do conform. And by the way, Sean, I'm trying to reach 8 hours because I want to become an affiliate. Because I'm sure it'll give me something. I don't know exactly what, but then I could tell other people what it gives. So here is what it gives. And then what's going to happen is we wrote start DBC, Power BI. And the reason is because this will tell it, hey, open up Power BI, open up this specific PIBX. And that specific PIBX is located here. And it changes with each time that you have a different version. So in the bin, we have this PIBX, and then we also have another template. So this, instead of having to like click through all the way, you don't even have to worry about that. You just falling asleep with my eyes open. You don't even have to click through this. This will detect where it needs to open it up. So let's do it. So launching the dashboard, this may take a moment. By default, you're going to see some of Beard's data. And what we'll have to do is refresh it so that it gets that new data source. So this is, you know, it's the gorgeosity of 10. Goodness. All right, hold on. Let's remember again how I did it. What was it? Already have a Power BI account and then cancel. All right. So what you can see is this is Rob's sample data. This is not my data. And he kind of shows that, you know, if you have your production and your test, and that is set by this. Like if we were to run this again. Oh, you can set the specific path, by the way. So by default, we always want it to be easy. And that's why we decided on the ctemp. But what you could do, ctemp, yeah, Windows temp. What you could do is set your own path. So environment, if you do production, no, this is what my lab environment, lab. I'll just call it lab. Then it would kind of tag it, and then it would show up here as lab. So in this case, Rob did one run, and he tagged it the environment production, and then he did another run, and he had test. So you can see his recovery models, like things are happening. And this is just so pretty. It's so good. And if it has this failure message, then you can see it here. All right, so can I just click here a couple times? It's just so awesome. And it's so impressive. And, you know, you just call your boss over and you could be like, hey, and they have this by time. Nice. So rad. Got a shout out to Claudio Silva. He built this gorgeous dashboard for us. And it's just the icing on top of such a fun, incredibly useful module. I'm glad you like that, Cube. I don't know anything about a filter pane. I tried to learn Power BI, and it was very challenging. Like I got it for a week, and then I had to leave and come back to it, and then I had forgotten everything. The visual stuff is very hard for me. So one time I probably knew what the filter pane did, but now I have no idea. Also, just don't practice it enough. Anyway, this is Rob's machine, right? You see this Rob XPS? What we want to do to get our own stuff is refresh. So this is importing the JSON files in our temp directory. And we could see here that we have SQL 2014 and SQL 2017. And this is interesting. It's just like, hey, let's watch Chrissy find bugs and report them. So then I have to take a picture of this. Hold on. Because there should be maybe a default thing. Let me take a screenshot of this. And then I'm going to rerun that. I'm suspicious. All right, let's do this. Close that out. Nope. And then I'm going to say lab. Sweet. I wonder if it's because it's a new version. I don't know. That shouldn't make a difference, though. So I'm adding explicitly the environment to be lab. Oh, you can parameterize the source. That would be awesome. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I want to see temp Windows temp dbachecks. I want to delete that. Oh, that says lab, but you can clear that, but I just did it like that. I'm going to run it again. And then we want to start DBC Power BI. All right, so this is Rob's machine. Now when we refresh, we're expecting to see lab over here. Excellent. All right, so there were 0 failures, but this shouldn't be red. And I guess I didn't make this very interesting because it should all be green. But I would like if it's 0, then to not be red. And I'm going to request that as well. So I'm going to take a little screenshot. A little there. So this is how, as an accidental DBA, you know what I'm going to do? Because I don't want to talk to that screen. I want to talk to Rob's screen because it's prettier. And I can conclude with that. Sean said, we need to get a sample file that has a ton of sources into it so it can really demo that report. There is a dark mode for Snagit? What? That'd be awesome. Left in dark mode. I'm going to add that to my notepad.txt. Dark mode, snag it. I was wondering why my errors were magenta, and I just realized is because because I changed it to magenta. That is far more pleasant than the red. But, you know, I try to keep my stuff as bare as possible so that I could experience what the user experiences. All right, so in this, what we have seen is that, so I'm doing my conclusion. Clear. So what we've seen, I'm gonna have to get that splat back. Right? So we've seen some splats. A lot of splat. All right. Config file with the checks. As an accidental DBA, there's some very basic things. You know, I would actually add integrity checks to this. So disk capacity that's important. Failed jobs, you don't want, if you have a scheduled task, you expect that, to succeed. All your backups, so your diffs, your logs, and I actually think that we should, I'm going to do it. No, I can't. I think I should probably go to bed, but I kind of just want to, I got to do it. I want to add, suspect page, because suspect pages, say if you have, and last good check DB. So a suspect page will tell you if you have active corruption, but something else that's super important when we had talked about Ola Hallengren scripts is checking for your last good DB. Potato looked weird. So what you want to do is last good check DB, but I don't know if that's the name of the thing. So let me open up another one and see. Get DBC check. OGV. Pass through. OGV is the alias for outgrid view. Good. Last good check DB. I was right. So if we do last good check DB and then suspect page, let me just make sure. Yep, suspect page. So we could see that there. All right, so now we, this is way better. Let's actually check. I think that, what's going to suck is that we're going to show some oh wait, I had wanted to show failures. Whew. There's a lot of things that haven't run CheckDB, and you might be asking, hey, as an accidental DBA, how am I how do I run this? And the answer goes back again to ola.hallengren.com. You guys remember SQL Server magazine? I used to love that magazine. I used to like that one, and there was like Linux magazine that I liked. I'm trying to think if there was a one called Code that was like super elite and cool. So this is Ola Hallengren's solution. It's backups, integrity checks. That's the last good check DB. And the index and statistics maintenance. So that's like the maintenance that you want to run to make sure that your databases are fast. So for an accidental DB, look, you just download this. And maybe this is something that would be good for one of the SQL community members to talk about, is Ola Hallengren stuff for the accidental DBA. But essentially, you just set some stuff at the top and then you execute it. And you tell it to make some jobs, and then it will make these jobs. If I go to SQL 2014, so these are like the default names, and we have a lot of support within DBA checks for this as well. But if you do the database integrity check, so you just start, it shouldn't take too long because these databases are pretty small. Yeah, that one already finished. So already we've reduced some of our errors, and it was just as easy as right-clicking and starting. And of course, you can also use DBA tools to start that as well. DBA tools is so cool. I'd actually wanted to rename all of my Ola scripts or jobs across my entire enterprise, and I used PowerShell to do it and DBA tools, and that was like, man, that had taken me so long to come here and right click and go to properties and be like new name. But it's so easy to do with PowerShell. And so those are the integrity checks. Now that we've done that, you know, guess what we'll do real quick. 4:24. All right, I have about 6 minutes. So I'm going to go to ola.hallengren.com. Oops, whatever. Then oh, check it out. It's on GitHub. maintenancesolution.sql. And then I think that you could do this. Where does install? Oh my God, that's such a good idea. I totally forgot about that. So install db. Let's see. So we have Cube asking where does it get its from? Yeah, and I think it is GitHub. We can verify that by looking at it. And Sean, I'm so glad you're here because I have forgotten how to search with that thing that you had introduced me to, the reason that I went to Code Insiders. So I have to expand functions. And then I just start typing, right? Mate. Yeah. What up? Boom. So install maintenance solution. This is what it looks like. I know that filtering is the bomb. Pretty stoked about, oh, that he had put it, yeah, on GitHub. We had actually had a conversation about it whenever Ola Hallengren was here in Belgium. We were at a speakers dinner, and he had asked about what it's like and stuff, and he had some hesitations, and I can't remember what they were though. Maybe he didn't remember the process or whatever. But anyway, and I told him that it was like a really great idea. And a lot, people come in and they do the work for you. And instead of just being, emailed snippets, then it's a more formal way to do it. Ha ha! What's up, Skull Crusher? Welcome, man. I have like 6 more minutes because it's 4. Oh, sorry. I think 4 more minutes. I'm super tired. It's 4:30 a.m. But what I was trying to do real quick, maybe we should build the container test for his repository so he can verify everything works. Hey, that would be really nice. And then submit it as a PR. So I'm kind of laughing at myself because here I am doing it like the old fashioned way. Like, I'm an old DBA. I'll just go to ola.hallengren.com. And then somebody's like, yeah, I'll have a command for that. It's true. I'd totally forgotten. The reason is because all of my stuff that I set up whenever I set up a new server, I have a different routine for it. So yeah, you can see here that we get the file. And this is something else. I was actually about to show some command line stuff that I was impressed by. So if you do SSMS, so SQL Server Management Studio, and then you paste that in, it should open it up. No. Why? No, this used to work, right? I wonder if you could do this. I'm bummed. Now I gotta find out what happened. Open URL from SSMS. Let's see. dash F. Let's try it. Oh, the other day, home button. If you hit home, goes back to the beginning. I learned that from Loose Cannon. Was it /F? I feel good about this. I feel like it's gonna open it. But it's not. So whatever. So then I'm just gonna go and grab it. Maybe it's because it's not raw. No, I don't know. Whatever. So here's how, as an accidental DBA, you can just hurry up and get some stuff done. Paste that. You're like, I trust this because the community trusts this, and I looked at the code and I gave it, actually a lot of this stuff I don't even understand because I think it has math and I'm bad at math. I trust it because I trust Ola. So, but I always run stuff in my tests. So I actually, I run it in 2 different labs or test environments before I run anything in production. I am super, super conservative about things. All right, so what we're going to do is install the things that are super necessary for database administration for accidental DBAs and regular DBAs. Advanced DBAs use this. Fortune 500 companies use this. This is like pretty much the de facto for a lot of people. If y'all are wondering what's on my nose, I think I might have talked about this before. If you, as an American, moved to Belgium and got some allergies, and it's like everybody here has allergies, and so I can't breathe through my nose. So what we want to do is we have just a couple things that we want to change, right? So create jobs. Yes, I want to create jobs. So what are the jobs? They're these scheduled tasks, right? Now he does create the jobs, but then you'll still need to schedule them. Because a job will do something and it could be invoked, like immediately or on a schedule. So you go to schedules, new. You can either do new because they're shared schedules. So if you have something that you want to happen on Monday at 6, you don't have to create a bunch of schedules for it to happen Monday at 6. You could just pick. So let's just say, none of these are good. Let's just go to new. So we'll be like daily at 7 p.m. So you pick daily, and then you're like, every one day at 7 p. You're like, all right. And so that's how you would schedule it, right? So his does not schedule. It just creates the stuff that you need. So yes, we do want to create this. And then the backup directory. So let's say you have a centralized repository, which I strongly suggest, right? So if you can back up, let's say you have like 10 SQL servers. What you can do is you can do this. Let's see. Let's say you have your NAS and then you have like your directory. And I think that this will work on my lab. And it'll create things like this. So it takes the server name and it creates these style directories. So all of these are Ola stuff. And if you go inside, that one's hello. That'll be full. I'm trying to look for one that would have the SQL cluster would probably have some good stuff. No, I went and I pruned a lot of stuff apparently. Here we go. So this is the basic structure that comes that he created that comes with the Ola Hallengren maintenance solution. You have your fulls, which are your entire database, your diffs, which are all of the changes since your last full, and then your log files, which are ultra important to back up because you don't want to run out of disk space. And so that's what it looks like. So anyway, if you put this backup directory, his script will go and create the directory that it needs to. So it'll create, in this case, I'm running it against SQL 2014 or SQL 2017. So it'll create the name SQL 2017. Cleanup time. Make sure that you set a cleanup time, because if you don't, then your NAS will run out of space because it keeps it forever by default. So time and hours after which backup files are deleted. So let's say that we want a 30-day retention policy. 24 times 30, 720. 720. And then what'll happen is it automatically deletes all the stuff. So he said cleanup time won't work when using Azure storage backup to URL, just FYI. I experienced that as well. That actually broke our CI/CD process. And I should probably, I don't remember if I set up a cleanup script or if I was just like, I'll just go and delete it. And I think that's because like you can't just RM. You have to do some advanced stuff to delete something from Azure storage. All right, output file directory. So the output file is this. Where is it? MS Docs have a script that I use. Oh, cool. I'm gonna have to look. MS Docs has gotten so good. There we go. The lease has to be dealt with in the blob storage. Yeah, it's a little painful. So the output file, you can see here, it lets you know essentially the status and stuff like that. My throat is like, man, you've been talking for a long time. And you can keep it or you don't have to. It will create a ton of output files. Like I'm talking, I don't know, 70,000 if you have enough servers, or hundreds of thousands. Like if you have 20 servers, if you don't clean out that output directory after like, I don't know, 6 months, you can have 700,000 objects or something. I don't know, my math is bad, but it's something that you have to kind of use PowerShell to delete. She says, speaking from experience. So you could just leave that null because there's other ways to check. And then log to table. Log the commands to table. Maybe. But then you'd have to know as an accidental DBA, like, how do you create a table? Does it create on its own? I don't know. So we're just going to say no. And then use PowerShell to check what's been backed up and stuff. But I won't do that now. But anyway, this is how easy it is. So you check these little things. And you can, as a more advanced DBA, you can modify some additional things. But this is enough to get the accidental DBAs going. And this is 2017. Yeah, so you can see here we only have one job, right? And when we refresh this, now we have these jobs. So there's a new one called output file cleanup. So if you do want to have those output files, then you can just schedule this job. And again, let's just say real quick, schedules. And something that's interesting too, if you have a whole bunch of servers, you have to remember that you should stagger your backups because you don't want all of your servers to be writing to one source all at the same time. So you'll want to create a schedule to say, this one backs up at 1, this one backs up at 2, this one backs up at 3. And you do these schedules. So I'll just like create one schedule and then pick it over and over again. Anyway, we already did that. So that's how easy it is to create OLA stuff. And now you want to set this. Let's see. Did NAS, where would that be? NAS SQL 2017. No, NAS SQL. I'm going to delete the 2017 directory, and then we'll expect that it'll appear. And then let's order by date modified. All right. And since I made it go to SQL NAS, started step. So that was successful. Oh. Now we have this SQL 2017, and we could see that that's how simple it was to back up the system databases. So, I mean, I think as an accidental DBA, absolutely use Ola Hallengren's stuff. Now, if you want to use PowerShell instead of doing it that way, what you could do is install, and I have not used this command, maintenance solution. So Ola Hallengren scripts are called maintenance solution. Say SQL instance, SQL 2017, and then you can go through here. So this looks familiar, right? Well, so database, in the other one I had created it in the master database. Let's see. So Skull Crusher said that Florida schools had that issue of sending too much to one destination at the same time, and when they first computerized their fact aptitude test, first test ended for the state. Oh man. So like their environment went down. I wonder how long ago was it since they computerized their stuff. So yeah, you could go through here and then you could set your backup location, right? So the equivalent of what we just did is NAS SQL. And just a quick note, if there are any spaces whenever you are using this, like let's say you wanted to do it to NAS SQL backups, that space, you're going to have to put it in those single or double quotes. I'm just going to do NAS SQL. Otherwise, you don't have to. And it keeps things pretty, NAS SQL. And then cleanup time, output file directory. So we're seeing, this is actually super duper duper cool that somebody took that and kind of wrapped it in PowerShell, made it so much more. Oh, so the solutions, all of them, just the backup, just the index optimization, just the integrity check. By default, it's all. And then is there a replace existing? So if you're upgrading, then you could just replace existing. And let's see. I think that was all that I wanted to change. You know, hey guys, listen. It's 11 minutes past what I was going to, when I was going to go to bed. I don't know. Do I stay up till 5? Just make it even. 5's really terrible, though. Let's see. So we want to create jobs. Where's their job? Where's Gerb's job? Job. No. Okay, let's see. Replace existing. Install jobs. So we did that. Backup directory. Cleanup time. 7:20. And log to table. By default, it's no. So all we have to do is press enter. Sweet. Super nice. So this lets you know that the previous stuff was dropped, and then whenever we go there, and whenever we refresh it, it was dropped, but then it was added back. So there we have it. Whew. Do you have a schedule of when you're planning to stream in the future, or trying to whenever you get a chance? So it's whenever I get a chance. My concern about scheduling is that it will set me up to have to do something, and I think that if I don't do it whenever I'm like, inspired or whatever, that I'll start dreading it, or it'll just like make me anxious or whatever. So at this time, I do not have a schedule that I'm planning, so I'll just start whenever. But I ain't gonna lie, it's really addictive, and I very much enjoy it because there's so many things that you learn as a DBA or as a PowerShell person that you want to share. And a lot of times, as you're working through it, you learn it and then you kind of forget to tell somebody. So yeah, if you subscribe to PowerShell Live, it'll notify you. And then so that's on Twitter. And on Twitch. And I did create twitch.tv/DBA tools, which will just be for the DBA tools team, but it doesn't notify yet because I don't know how to do that, but I think that it'll be fun. And then I can hook that into the DBA Tools Twitter as well. So you guys have any requests of things that you would like to see? I know somebody had requested that Sean, let's see, whenever you were going to change something. So you said we need to get a sample file that has a ton of data sources so we could really demo that. And then, Adilio was like, I'd like to watch that stream. So if we could do that, if you guys have any other requests, recreate your guitar. Actually have a little ukulele. Something y'all don't know about me. I want a hobby, right? Like outside of computers. Oh yeah, I know. I'm gonna ask Mark. That's actually what I was gonna do, is be like, how'd you do that? And I could ask him to add DBA tools to the list. But I want to know how he does his Twitter stuff so that I could do my Twitter stuff. I hope it's in like Azure or something so that I have to learn that. But yeah, if you could see back there, I have an accordion and I have a ukulele, and on that other side I have a mandolin, and I want to know how to play instruments, because I find that it would be really relaxing, right? Like sometimes PowerShell could be relaxing, but sometimes you have to like think a lot. And I wonder if it ever just becomes, like just muscle memory to like play the accordion or whatever. Anyway, I have a lot of failed dreams behind me, just sitting there, and yeah, I can't remember, but I kind of recognize, I'm like, all right, you can't just buy another thing. Anyway, Sean, back to your original question. Maybe I can. Maybe I could take that ukulele and recreate my GIF. Oh, really? That is so cool. So he said that it's an Azure function, which I've always wanted to, since Troy Hunt talked about Azure functions, I absolutely wanted to understand. And he streamed writing it and getting that set up. That is fantastic. So I'm going to have to look that up. Let me add it to my little to-do. I got so many to-dos tonight. Mark E. Krause stream. Was it relaxing to learn to play guitar? Like I tried the bass because I figured that the bass was simplified because it only has, for the most part, traditionally 4 strings. That didn't work. I played the fiddle really well. It sounded good. I played the fiddle and it surprisingly sounded good. But I know that I wasn't following anything, and so it probably sounded ridiculous to somebody who actually plays the fiddle. But I wanted to play the fiddle because it's very prominent in Cajun music, and that's actually why I have the accordion there too. So I think that I'm going to go to bed. I'll be in trouble. Going to bed at 4:46. But maybe I got in my whole stream for the 8 hours. I bet I did, because I've been on for 4 hours and 48 minutes. This has been a blast. So thank you all for joining me. If you want to tweet me at CL, let me know if there's something that you're interested in seeing. Otherwise, I might return to the DBA Tools Bug Bash. And hook up with Sean to do some live sharing and stuff like that. There are a couple projects that we want to work on. So sweet. Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to see the debugging stuff. Thank you so much for joining, Adilio, and Cube, and everyone else who is here. I really appreciate you. And yes, see you very soon, but in an unscheduled manner. All right, good night.